What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope you're all doing well, having a good Monday. Joined once again by Flex in the presenter's chair this time as well. God, it always feels weird when I have
You're in the hot. Why?
See, because you know what it feels like? It's like I'm doing class. You remember when you were ever in school and then the teacher was doing class and then there'd be like the head master at the back of the room taking notes? You ever have that?
I'm definitely not that guy. Like, oh, you need to brush up on this. Didn't like the way you asked me this. You wasn't really talking quick enough as well. Just quicken up a little bit, please, mate. I'm not offside.
Sorry. Right notes. Anyway, we're here to talk about contracts at Manchester United because there's plenty going on when it comes to new deals possibly being close. There's plenty going on when it comes to deals expiring and no new deals being offered as well. So let's start off talking about what Fabrizio Romano has said on social media. He has said that Manchester United have no intention to open talks for Jesse Lingard, Edison Cavani and Juan Mata. The plan has not changed as of today. He then goes on to talk about upcoming deals for Bruno Fernandes, Luke Shaw, and we're going to touch on Marcus Rashford as well as we go through. So, Flex, let's start off talking about the outgoings, and then we'll focus on the people staying. Lingard, Cavani, Mata. Not so much of a shock that United aren't even planning on opening negotiations, but is this what you want to hear?
Yeah, I don't think we shouldn't be shocked by that. That's not like, oh my god, I can't believe they're not going to stay. Like, those are like, with all disrespect to those players, with all respect to those players, with all respect to those players, like, the journey's come to an end. It has. Like, Juan Mata is probably the nicest footballer I've ever met. Like, he is so blessed. It's unbelievable. Always got time for everyone. He's the people's champ. But, you know, if we're talking football in terms, and he'll know it as well, he's hardly getting played. People's champ, there you go. He's off. He should be off. He should have been off in Jan. Didn't happen. Probably should have been off in the summer. You know, there's loads of recent transfer windows. You're like, probably time mattered, kind of, you know.
When people are doing that sort of incomings, outgoings, a lot of people always put Mata on the outgoings, and it never tends to happen.
It never tends to happen. But then when he stays, no one's mad at him or be like, oh, because he's a great guy. He's a great guy. But this rebuild that we need, you know, we've got to start getting into the nitty gritty now, and we got no time for sentiment. And one will know that. He'll know that. Matt will know that. And want to go and play some football as well. He can't be happy never coming off the bench and, you know, hardly ever playing football and training every day.
Champions League.
I was just about to say that. Apart from that, in our biggest game, but that just showed you, didn't it, where we were at? And didn't Lingard come on as well?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it shows a lot, doesn't it? I think just of like we've been talking about the rebuild in general, United over the summer. I think it just goes to show the scope, isn't it? Of like, yeah, we've got a bloated squad, but there are players in there that do need to be replaced, right? When 100%. You're looking at, say, Cavani,
all of them.
I mean, I understand that he's like not playing at the moment and he's always injured, but we still do need to replace him. Lingard, we still do need to replace. Like, that spot's still available on the bench, and some people might say, "Oh, bring an under 21s," but you need a squad, and those players will need to be replaced. And I think it just goes to show that this rebuild, I think it also goes to show as well, actually, that this rebuild, whilst the manager, whoever it may be, will have some influence on it, like, United have made their mind up on a couple of these players. Like, sorry, 100%. Like, it's done.
And that should be happening. I mean? Like, you know, Cavani, you know, arguably should have went at the end of last season, but before we got Ronaldo, we thought it'd be good to keep him one more year. Like, you know, and get a younger striker to help out so we can play. It turned out we got Ronaldo, so Cavani hardly ever played, and he's always injured. He is injury prone. He's injured a lot of time, misses a lot of games. So I don't see that being an issue. That, you know, those are not eyebrow raisers to me. And the Lingard situation, obviously, I mean, it is under Ollie. He was very vocal in saying, "I hope he stays." You know, we're working to sign him. We're working to do this. We're working to do that. As soon as Ollie got sacked, that's it. Like, it's done. It doesn't matter. And, you know, we've been through the reasons why we couldn't let him go in January in the end, which had to happen. The Mason Greenwood situation, Martial gone, Van de Beek gone, West Ham actually doing well and at the time challenging us for fourth. So there was many factors of why we couldn't let him go, and he's still going to leave because obviously his contract's up, but we shouldn't be offering him new terms to stay. And he wouldn't accept it. Why would he? You know? So again, on them, they are that is exactly what should be happening. In fact, you don't even really want to give too many pats on the back for those three, if that's true, which you would think, because it's
people
like
will say it should have been done, a while ago.
Exactly, should have happened absolutely ages ago. And really, they're probably, apart from, and again, no disrespect, adding in Phil Jones, they're probably the three most obvious ones at this present moment. I mean, Matic is still playing in quite important games and actually having a say over some games. So if you take him out of it, even though he's carried on staying quite a long time, it's Mata, it's Lingard is at the end of it, it's Cavani, who can never be fit, and Phil Jones. They're the most obvious one. Then you get your Eric Bailly's, then you get your Brandon Williams once he comes back, then you get Tuanzebe, those kind of players. Andreas Pereira. Is that? Oh no, that got made permanent, did it? Was it not? I can't remember.
This is the thing. There was a report that it got made permanent, but nobody's sort of spoken about it. Like,
I don't think Man United announced it, did they?
I don't think no one knows really what's going on.
So then there's that. But the three obvious ones would be them.
Think of the wages though as well. That the United, I was just sort of adding that up in my head. Like, that's a lot of wage they're saving up there.
Hello, this is why everyone's fuming all the time, because we've got players there who aren't playing very often because they're surplus or they need moving on, not because they don't care or they're this and that. I don't see it as that. I just think their career at Manchester United has come to an end. Cavani's was very short and came to an end because he just can't stay fit. Jesse's has just progressively come to an end. He's shown he can go and play well at another club, came back, didn't work out. So it's come to an end. And Matters has come to a natural end. So, and they're on massive money between the three of them.
Exactly. We talk about wage structure, right? And I suppose maybe some of that freed up wage might be going to Bruno Fernandes, who looks like he's going to be agreeing a new deal very, very soon. As Fabrizio Romano says, it's going to be agreed in the coming days. Rob Dawson from ESPN has said that Bruno Fernandes has verbally agreed terms on a new 5-year deal with Manchester United. An announcement is expected after the international break. But I think the really curious thing with this, because what's been actually, I would say surprisingly divisive, but I guess it really isn't considering the situation we've been in this season. But it's been divisive of, does he deserve it? Should we be giving out contracts? Are we rewarding failure? Should we wait till the new manager comes in? All that kind of stuff. And they're all good talking points, I think. But what Rob Dawson has said is that sources at Manchester United have stressed that Bruno Fernandes' new deal is designed to bring him in line with the highest earners and reflect his contribution since arriving, rather than reward for a season during which he suffered a dip in form. So essentially, that report, if it's true, is saying what some fans have said of going, it's not really reflective of this year. It's reflective of his contribution overall. Like since he's arrived, if you put his contributions up against any other player, not at United in the Premier League, they're right up there. There's definitely like a pre and I'd say post, he's still here, but a pre and post Bruno arrival, of how Manchester United were doing, and he deserves to be rewarded for that. What are your thoughts on that, of him really getting a deal that wasn't necessarily a deal because, we need to extend it? It's just a case of, no, it's a reward for what you've done so far.
I said it yesterday, didn't I, on a full view? And I just feel like out of everybody who's at the club, we were crying out for somebody to come in and make an impact at this football club. And somebody comes in and makes an impact of this football club, and then the narrative changes to, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. When he was literally saving our asses. Literally, between him and David De Gea, the numbers that Bruno was putting up in his first season in particular, and second, unreal. Up there as an attacking midfielder, numbers-wise, and impacting the game. Where would we be without him? And yes, do I challenge Bruno to have to show a little bit of a different style under a new manager, or there needs to be a way of getting more out of him in a more effective way that helps the team better? Yeah, but that doesn't take away the individual impact that he's had. When you're looking at contracts, it's an individual thing. Yeah, it's between me, my agent, my family, and the club. Not even, I know it sounds harsh, but not even really your family. It's the impact you've had in football terms on the pitch, and your representative, which is your agent. It's between you two, and that's it, and the club. And it's like, people forget that if you're being way underpaid because he came here and he earned that reputation, you're being way underpaid. Just seeing players like Mata on over 200, let's assume that, on high wages, let's say higher than you. You're seeing Mata like that on higher than you. You're seeing Jesse Lingard on higher than you. You're You're seeing Edison Cavani probably on higher than you. Who else?
You're seeing the Pogba offer on the table, 400K.
You've seen the Pogba offer on the table. Let's speculate with that, with the specific numbers. You've seen 400K put down. You saw David De Gea again achieved a lot in his Man United career, been unbelievable. But again, getting rewarded for consistency. And to be fair, yes, this season he hasn't been at it, but I think we've gone from one extreme sometimes as a fan base where we say too many players get rewarded for doing nothing. Like literally nothing. And obviously it's a team game. So the fact we haven't won anything significant, I think it's too easy to say no one should get a new contract. And, because then otherwise you just wouldn't build anything.
Everyone leaves.
Everyone leaves because Man United haven't won the Champions League or the Premier League. That's just not how it works. Yeah. But then when we do look to reward somebody who actually probably deserves it the most out of any player, we're then looking for reasons as to why he shouldn't get it. But the reasons that he shouldn't get it, I don't have a problem when people are like, he probably should get it, but if we could just wait for the new manager to come in, the timing probably. But unfortunately, these things don't have that span that we want. Again, we want, as what I'm saying, as fans, we want everything to happen how we think it should happen as fans. Yeah. We forget that it's a workplace. Like, if you're Bruno, you kind of then want to say, if I'm him, I'm saying, well, so I've done all this in the chaos and I want reassurances that you want me here, whoever the new manager is. I think I want that reassurance from you.
And also as well, we have to remember, negotiations with Bruno have been going on since July. This deal, there could have been a breakthrough at any time. So realistically, that deal could have been agreed in August. And then people wouldn't have been complaining in August. They'd go, yeah, good, he deserves it. That could have been agreed in September. They'd go, good, he deserves it. It's just been a really prolonged negotiating process. And it just happens to get done now. I think it's an interesting thing with Bruno, isn't it? Because I do think sometimes, and he definitely has his flaws, and every player does,
100%.
but I do think sometimes we maybe focus on what he doesn't do as opposed to what he does do. You know what I mean? And it's a case of, what Bruno offers. And as I mentioned, there's definitely a pre and post Bruno arrival. I remember that season, 2019, pre-Bruno arriving, we're nowhere near getting in the top 4. Bruno's arrival plus, the gap because of the pandemic and then Project Restart, we get into the Champions League because of Bruno. The year after, he was excellent, and again, I understand people say he's a stat padder and Fernandes and all that kind of stuff, right? I get it, but I'm of the mindset that we keep the best players at the club, and I think that's ultimately what Manchester United are trying to do. I know people will also talk about wage structure, and of course, the wage structure at Manchester United is completely out of control. A question I almost have for you, Flex, is actually, if the reported numbers are for Pogba are accurate on the table, 400K, and Bruno's getting, what do they say, reportedly might be 240, around that sort of mark. How do you think they line up in terms of importance, do you think?
How did the players line up in importance if Pogba's
in terms of reflecting their value? Yeah.
I mean, and that's another thing that Bruno's going to be looking at, because really it shows that if they've put 400K, on the table and only 250 for Bruno, it shows that Mino Raiola's got this club by the cojones. That's what it shows, because if you think what Paul Pogba's done in his time here, he himself would say it's not. He did. He said it the other day. I look back in the 5 years. But, I want to win trophies. We haven't managed to do that. He's not going to count the Europa League. He's not going to count
Carabao Cup.
The Carabao Cup. He's not, And I just feel like he would say, I've fallen short of the mark. But if Man United give him 400K a week after not achieving much, and give Bruno 250, who individually has been very consistent bar this season, where nobody has, I think that's very telling. And that's what I mean about the hierarchy at football. Look, they can do the training pictures, winning team, when they're all on the side like that, saying, yeah, we just won. It's great here and everything. And I don't think that's fake for 1 minute. I do think they all get on. But when it comes to peas and when it comes to fairness in a workplace, people got shit to say. Trust me.
100%.
If you see someone,
When you
doing a
find out
worse
your
job than
job,
you.
yeah, and you go,
Exactly.
and then you find out you go, they're on 3 times as much as you. You go, are you shitting me?
Yeah, exactly. You ringing your agent straight away. And,
Yeah,
how it works at Man United, or not even Man United, at football clubs is the next available opportunity to negotiate. We're gonna say this.
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
same reason why if you look at Liverpool not wanting to give Mo Salah a certain amount of money, even though he's been the best player in the world, because they don't want to break salary cap, because then they're going to get Allison saying, listen, mate, you got me as well. I helped us win the league. Like, I got us over the line. You're going to
Yeah,
get Van
yeah.
Dijk saying, excuse me, not. Like, okay, you've put 400 plus on your most influential players. I would argue that I'm even more important than Mo Salah. You had him before me.
Hmm.
We didn't win anything till I came.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
can so people we forget that Bruno is perfectly entitled to be knocking on the door asking for this. Now, where I think the biggest conversation points arise around this Bruno deal, when I've seen people saying he shouldn't get it, is because they're looking at, like you said, the things that he doesn't do. And if we want to go in a new direction with a new manager, what happens if, in typical Man United fashion, and this is why I think it's important to talk about this, even if me and you both might agree, what happens if you do give Bruno this 5-year deal on, I don't know, let me magic up a number, 320k. Yeah, should we just say
Right.
that? Or something like that. It's really specific, I know, but it's the first number that comes to my head. 320k, 5-year deal. And Eric Ten Hag says, just don't really fit what I want to do. I don't really like that, what he's doing. I just don't like that type of player. I'd rather play Donny
Mm.
there. Imagine he says that. Then you're
Yeah, yeah.
stuck with an unhappy Bruno Fernandes on a 5-year deal at 300. It blurs the lines and it makes it difficult. What do you think of that?
My point with that is and I think that's why I think those conversations have to be part of the recruitment process for the manager. If it was Ten Hag, he's used to a structure where he's told, we're extending this guy's contract, we're
Yeah,
not extending this guy's contract, we're going to buy this player, we're going to sell this player. If you were smart in the recruitment process of, whatever manager it may be, if you're having a discussion with Ten Hag, you would say, we're just getting over the line when it comes to Bruno, new contract. How would you get the best out of him? How would you get the best out of Ronaldo? These are our key players. These are our most effective players. How do you turn that around? And you would hopefully get a good gauge in the interview, whether they like them, whether they're going to use them, because if you've had that conversation in the interview and he goes, yeah, I don't really fancy Bruno Fernandes actually that much, and then you still bring him in anyway, then that's fall on you. You know what I mean?
you got an
That's
issue.
your fault then. Then don't bring him in. And I'm not saying like, choose the player over the manager. I'm just saying don't paint yourself into a corner where you get into a situation probably you shouldn't actually get yourself into. I understand when people say, what if the new manager doesn't like him? But I'll also say that I don't really, honestly, think the process works like that at Manchester United. I think it works like a lot of other clubs, in that basically you're given players as the coach, you coach the first team, you offer recommendations of people you'd like to have contracts extended, people signed, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, as the manager, that's not your call anymore. That's the director of football's call. That's the technical director's call. And I know some people don't like that. And I know certainly that's not a very English model to approach. But that's football nowadays, unfortunately, right? That's how it works. Speaking of the new deals, though, I do want to talk about Luke Shaw, because Luke Shaw, of course, has been in the headlines after scoring for England. His quotes after the game. Again, Romano says that talks of Luke Shaw will take place soon. And to continue on this, Marcus Rashford sort of comes into it as well. Rob Dawson from ESPN says, Marcus Rashford and Luke Shaw are considered part of a key group of core players that Manchester United want to keep and are keen to push ahead with contract negotiations, despite uncertainty over the identity of the next permanent manager, which again is quite crucial there of, again, basically saying, as I just mentioned, that regardless of who this manager is going to be, like these players we're keeping. Like we consider these key assets and we want to keep them regardless. Specifically though, Rashford and Shaw, how do you feel about that one? Because of course they've been miles off
Yeah.
it this season. And can you understand like, maybe where the outrage might come when it comes to that one? Because some people might be saying, actually, what have they been
What have they done?
doing?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's where I think there's probably a bit more grounds for disagreement. I think with the Luke Shaw situation, it's like he's been here so long.
Yeah.
And I still feel like I'm just waiting for him to arrive. Almost like the Pogba situation. We're just waiting. When is he going to get unlocked? When is he going to be consistent? When is it going to be this? And I know Man United's been chaotic, but if we're being honest, Luke Shaw's probably given us the season where he broke his ankle, where up until that point against PSV, he was fantastic leading up to that injury. So that half a season, and last season where he was unbelievable. All the other seasons, you're like, and he's had contract extensions in that already. You know, how much more? If I've said it how many times, and maybe I'm being a little bit more biased because my opinion is that I look at all 4 fullbacks. I've said quite a lot while that I just think we can do better in the whole department of fullbacks in general.
Yeah.
I would be reluctant to do that personally. I think we could get a new profile of left back. We could get a new profile of right back. But in Luke Shaw's case, I just see it as how many more opportunities do you keep getting given? But he's shown that he can play at a level, which is one of the most frustrating things about Luke Shaw, because I like Luke Shaw. You know, when I see what he was capable, we were all on the wagon, you know, Gilberto Carlos and whatever you want to call him. And he was fantastic. And so you just want to challenge, and he took that form into the Euros as well. So you want to say, well, that's the Luke I know that can play. Look at the level that he can play at. But how many times am I going to get let down? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the question is, and I think a good question would be, if he were to leave Manchester United, what kind of club does he go to? Which is always reflective of the player's ability as well. You look at how strong, you know, especially how crucial actually fullback positions are at big clubs. Not that he would go to City or Liverpool, but you look at those kind of fullbacks and the way that they operate and how important they are. Is Shaw operating in that kind of level? No, well, certainly not contributing the same kind of levels, you know, and that's the issue. I'm with you when it comes to the fullbacks. We spoke about this before, that I do feel like all of them, I feel you could take or leave, honestly, in terms of ability, in terms of the fullback position's changed. I mean, it changed from just being a right-sided defender into being almost like a wing back. Now it's changed into not just being a wing back, but also almost like a playmaker. Trent Alexander-Arnold was creating or starting moves from the fullback position. It's evolved, and you know, that's the critical point. I think, you know, Luke Shaw, I could probably see him getting a deal extended, obviously, because I think United will probably look at going, we've just got other pressing positions. You know, in an ideal world, we might maybe be looking at fullbacks, but we're looking at 2 midfielders and a striker reportedly. So let's just get that one tied up. The Rashford one's curious because, of course, look, Rashford's miles off it this season. In the headlines a lot recently because of the stuff after the game, and you know, even before that was some of the stuff in the media and all that kind of stuff. What kind of reaction? I'll put it this way: what kind of reaction do you think it gets if, in say a couple of weeks' time, it's announced Marcus Rashford signed a new multi-year contract at Man United?
I think the timing is everything, and because of the timing of how poor he's been this year, the incident with the fan the other day, and a
Manchester derby.
Manchester
bit as
derby, and a gradual kind of decline in his performance over the last year, because last season he was good, and the season before that he was good. I think it would get a lot of like opposing opinion. I don't think people will be very happy because, you know, it would be a big deal. It would be another 5-year, you know, big wages.
He's on a high wage anyway.
Wage anyway. He's a big brand now, Marcus Rashford, and I think a lot of people feel like that's actually part of the problem, that he has become such a huge brand. I think you end up. I think when you become what Marcus Rashford has become through doing amazing things, because let's not forget that, right? That's not. The two shouldn't. I don't class it. You're out there feeding kids and helping kids. That's what I want. I want that to happen if you've got the power to do that. If you're a footballer and you've got millions of pounds, invest it into helping kids or poor people. Great. But the problem is when you become that, MBE, etc., and your football dips, everyone's onto you. Everyone's onto you because, you know, your primary purpose to everybody isn't a bigger purpose. It's a football player at Man United on big money, and you need to deliver. My thing with Rashford is actually, and I've gone through kind of different things with this, and some people have said I've defended him, been too soft, etc. When, you know, many times I've said, me and KG used to argue all the time. I've never rated
Rashford. KG is the big Rashford fan,
massive. And I was always like, he's good, but he's not. Do you know what I mean? But now, the way I see it now, as we're doing this video, is if Marcus plays this right, it could be something that he looks back once he's retired and gone and says, I remember that really tough period that I had. And I remember coming through it. You know, some of the top players have had real bad times, you know, because this is a player who last season, we were saying, fine, brilliant. Yeah, Rashford's kicking on. It's fine. 20 plus goals. Season before, I think he got 20 plus goals again as well. You know,
well, people were praising Rashford last year for playing so well through a lot of injuries, right?
Through the injuries. And it was that expectancy of he's got his shoulder sorted now. He's got his back sorted now. Now his ankle, everything. Now we should see the best. And I do think that I saw a report the other day saying that, oh, now he's not been picked for England. He can focus on getting fit again. Didn't really see it as that. He's just playing really badly. And it's a confidence thing. Confidence is gone. Like, even when especially when you're there and he's right in front of you, 6 rows from the front, Rashi touches the ball, I can feel the nervousness in him. Doesn't want to,
because you can feel the stadium as well. You can feel the stadium just sort of go.
It's actually quite like uncomfortable now. Honestly, it's actually quite, and you don't want to see one of you guys go out like that.
No,
you know, someone who's come through the system like Rashi has, and has given us good moments and showed an upwards trajectory. I feel uncomfortable giving up completely, personally. So if you're transferring that into a question of do I want him to get a new deal or not, here's my thing. I don't know. Do you know how long has he actually got left on his deal? It's not like
that's what I was going to say. If it's not a pressing concern, then maybe that's when you say,
I would. If he's got a couple of years left, I would let the new manager come in, let the environment of Man United try to flourish or try to grow under the leadership of Ten Hag or Enrique or Pochettino, whoever it's going to be. Because another thing is, I think Pochettino, especially
2023, apparently
2023,
a year, and I don't know if that's with the option or without the option. But basically, we're talking. It's time to negotiate. Basically,
it's time to negotiate. But we just want to leave it because it's like, really. This has been so bad. It probably is not reading the room right. But that's what I'm saying about contracts. It doesn't matter how good or bad you're playing. It's about the time you've had the contract. So say you get a 4-year contract and 3 years you were actually really good. But in the time of negotiating for the next one in that year, you've been absolutely awful. It sets the tone. And if you haven't won the big trophies, it's not like we can say, listen, man, these guys, they won the league 2 seasons ago. You know, they can't be out, or they won the Champions League last year, or we haven't got that in the bag. So we find it really difficult as Man United fans to grab onto something to say, keep any of them. That's the problem. So for me, I try and just be a bit calm about it. You can't get rid of everyone. I just want to see him under a new manager. I want to see a little bit more. I would feel really uncomfortable, me personally, and I've been one of his biggest critics in terms of performances, saying, see you later, done. Go to Arsenal if you want. Don't bother me. That makes me feel really uncomfortable. I still think there's something more in there. I think personally. How do you see it?
I mean, when the whole thing happened outside the ground after Atletico, I just said at the time that I felt really bad for him, honestly, because I think that a lot of people can say, oh, if it was me, I would go over and apologize to fans and I would do this and I'll do that. Nobody knows until they're in their shoes. I think Rashford has an unbelievable amount of pressure on him, and you can argue that maybe he's made that for himself with what he's done off the pitch, and maybe that's partially true too.
It comes with it,
pressure and a lot of eyeballs, and it looks like he's just struggling to manage all of that because when he's not playing well, the intensity of that pressure is bigger, and I don't think he's used. This is the first time he's really experiencing like, wow, this is a lot to carry, and it's a case of whether he can carry it or not. As I mentioned before, I'm of the mindset that we keep our better players at the club. I'm with you. I don't think the timing of this is very good at all. And if I was United, and maybe these discussions might start now, but hopefully, given how long it's taken to agree a contract with Bruno, that maybe it would get to like the summer and then maybe you start to get pretty closer and all that kind of stuff. And who knows, Rashford might have changed things by then. But do I think he's going to go? I've never felt that Marcus Rashford is going to leave Manchester United because I just can't envisage that, you know, because he, regardless of what some people say, he does love the club. He's a Manchester guy. He's a product of the academy, and I just don't think it's in United's best interest to lose him. But I also think on the flip side of it, he's got to be held accountable for him not playing well. He can talk about coaches, positions, fitness. That's on you. And You know,
But
there's
also it's down to
just
Marcus Rashford. It's down to Marcus Rashford as well to decide what he wants as well. Like I saw some reports saying he's keen to win his place back at Man United and consequently get back in the England team. Because let's face it, the opportunity, like the challenge is there for Rashi, isn't it? You've got
if he
Anthony
turns it around,
Elanga.
people will give him so much credit, wouldn't they?
Exactly. You've got Elanga who's come in and done so well and shown promise to the point where he's shown more consistency than you, Rashi. So if you back yourself, you're the more experienced player. 20 goals last season, 20 goals the season before. You've been at it the last couple of years, and you've been injured. If you fancy yourself, this is where I think you announce yourself properly and say, "This is the first bad patch of my career, a real bad patch, awful patch, but I'm strong enough to get through it. It's been tough." He basically said in that statement, "It's been hard. I've been heckled. I've been this. I've been abused online. It got to me." He's admitted it. Do you know what I mean? He's Will Smithed it. That's what he's done. He's blown. He's absolutely blown. He hasn't
slapped him in the face.
He didn't slap anyone in the face. He didn't
slap him. And didn't start shouting. Well, he did kind of say, meet me around the back. So it's like, keep my name out your mouth.
So there's a few Will Smith shades there, apart from the physicality of the altercation. Basically the losing of the head and saying, "Come on, let's do this." So the principle of him losing his head is what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's either he says, "I'm tough enough to deal with this, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it," or do you know what? I'll take the exit route at the first chance. I won't sign a new deal. Arsenal are knocking. That seems to be in there quite a lot. Arsenal are knocking. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, but it's something that if you put it, I can see why it's been written, because it's like, if you're a tabloid or a newspaper, it's something that just, Rashford isn't happy. Man United might not want to, and Arteta could have him. Imagine him with Saka and Smith Rowe and Odegaard, and it sickens me. And I don't think Man United would even entertain the thought of selling Marcus Rashford, especially right now in this moment when we're about to get a new manager and everything can change.
Because if it's a new manager, it's coming in, it's arm round. Look, things haven't been going well, but under me, I believe in you.
They want someone like Marcus. That's a big challenge. That's like, what a great basis to work off. I've seen you this season, mate. Bloody hell, you were horrible last year. I did see that. But I also saw you the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. And I know what player you are. So, that's my challenge. That's my job to get the best out of you again, and I will do it.
Exactly that. Well, there's going to be plenty more when it comes to contracts, I'm sure, between now and the end of the season and in the preseason, in the transfer window. I feel like every day, considering Flex, there's so many people that are either out of contract or coming up to the end of their deals. There's going to be a lot to talk about. So, guys, be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. And also, what I would be interested to see is, out of these players, out of Rashford, Shaw, and Bruno, which ones do you think deserve a new deal? How much do you think they should be on? And let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. That will be quite interesting to see. Anyway, guys, we're out of here, and we'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.